Welcome back to the Strategy Table. I'm your host, Artrice V. And if you were here last week, you remember we talked about the mask bearer. And I showed you last week how to identify if the mask bearer was in your life. So, last episode was the diagnostic. This episode today is the audit. I walk you through 6 placements that the mask collects. I also added an additional one. So, we'll be working with all 7 today. I told you the truth last week. Wearing a mask is very expensive. And today, we're going to read the bottom line because here's what no one is going to tell you, and no one is going to do the work for you about the true cost of shrinking and adapting into a narrative of wearing the mask. It shows up on your bank statement because you have to look a certain way. It shows up in your body, in your marriage. It shows up in your leadership, and it's burying your gift and amplifying your shadow in your own life. And you've been paying this bill on autopilot for years. So today, we're going to go line upon line and precept upon precept to uproot that mask and define where it's costing you at. So again, 7 places, 7 taxes, 1 return on life investment. So pull up a chair, go ahead and get your notebook, get your pen, get you a bottle of water, because today we're going deep. I'm going to require you to go deep because the mask bearer, we have to filter through the mask, right? Again, that mask is costing you something. So let's get into it. At some point, you don't need to find the exact moment you learned that rule. The rule exists. The unedited version of you costs too much in whatever room you built that mask in. That version of you got results though. It got the grades, it got the job, it got the approval, and the rule stayed on the books long after the room didn't need it anymore. You're still running a compliance program for an environment that no longer exists. So the adaptation became the operating system. An operating system don't ask for permission. They just run. But here's the strategy. Leaders, I need you to hear me. The room changed, but you're still paying for protection you don't need anymore. I told you last week, I ran this audit in my own life. And what I found surprised me, but it didn't because we know we are paying for it. We just didn't understand exactly how that payment showed up or how that payment got processed. So we are most likely prepared for the big collapses in our lives. We learn to manage those collapses. We learn to get ready for the outpour or the backlash. It was the small changes, the one I stopped noticing. The mask doesn't just exhaust you, it robs you. It robs you of the one thing you need the most when it's time to be. And it's robbing you of your power to be yourself and the power of leading others. And as leaders, if we don't know who we are, how can we lead someone else? Just because an organization tell you where you're going, you have to know who you are in that going. You have to know where you fit in that vision. You have to be able to answer, who am I and what do I want? How will I embrace this change? So, as a leader, I did the only strategic thing left. I stopped. I analyzed. I started strategizing. I started counting. And I went through the 7 places that I knew I needed a change. Because when we're talking about going through a change initiative and we go through it in the organization, but nobody prepares the person, the individual for that change narrative that's happening within that organization. So there's 2 things that must happen simultaneously. You have to adapt and the organization has to adapt. So here's the audit. 7 identity taxes. So here's the audit. 7 identity taxes. For each tax, I'm going to name it, ask you the question the mask has been answering for you, push you 1 layer deeper, and then I want you to score. For each statement, rate how true it has been for you over the past 90 days, 1 to 10. Do not think too hard. You already know the answer. If you think too hard, you're more than likely going to put on a mask. And this is for you to unmask. So, score meaning 1, never true. 2, rarely true. 3, occasionally true. 4, sometimes true. 5, frequently true. 6, usually true. 7, very often true. I hope you're writing these down. 8, almost always true. 9, consistently true. 10, extremely true. Record the average score for each category. Tax 1, the emotional tax. We talked about this heavy last week. The emotional tax is what the mask bearer takes from your read on the room, including the most important room, yourself. The pattern works like this. You spent so long presenting the emotion the situation calls for that you've lost the feedback loop. You don't know what you actually think about the decision until 2 days later. You don't know whether you're fine or not fine until something breaks. Leaders running this pattern make slower calls, misread their own capacity, and chronically overcommit. Not because they're undisciplined, but because the instrument they need is not present when they're making decisions. The true version of themselves is not present. The reserve, the approval version of themselves are present, right? That's the tax. Not that you feel things privately, that you've lost access to the data your emotions were designed to give you. You're making leadership decisions without it. Ask yourself, what does it cost you to keep everyone's perception of you intact? To be the strong one, the steady one, the leader who never lets it slip. Go deeper. How much energy is spent managing your identity, right? So these are the 5 statements. I think there's 6. 1, I feel pressure to appear stronger than I am. Rate that 1 through 10. Second statement, I struggle to identify with what I genuinely want. Statement 3, I feel emotionally exhausted from managing expectations. Statement 4, I often feel disconnected from my authentic emotions. Statement 5, I don't know what I feel anymore. Statement 6, I often check what I'm supposed to feel first. Write down your score 1 through 10 for all 6 statements. How did you score yourself? The next tax. The relational tax is what the mask takes from your professional credibility because trust is built on consistency, and consistency requires people to see the same person twice. The mask bearer pays this tax through versioned presence. Your direct reports get one version, your peers get another version, leadership gets another version. Each version is calibrated, competent, and completely managed. The problem is not that any one version is wrong. The problem is that nobody has the full picture. And people follow who they understand and who they trust. When your team cannot predict you, when they don't know who you are they really going to allow you to lead them? They trust your decisions, but not you. They stop bringing you the real information because they don't know which version of you they're going to get. The honest concern stays parked. It stays in the emails that never get sent. It shows up in the surveys. The actual problems get managed around you instead of through you. And you become the last person in the room to know. And oftentimes you're trying to figure out why aren't they bringing you the issue? So you don't know what's happening in your organization. You traded being known for being approved of, and approval was never the same thing as connection. Go deeper. What is the cost of staying connected? What cost are you paying trying to stay connected, knowing you're not even being who you need to be? Statement 1. Different people know different versions of me. Rate it 1 through 10. Statement 2. I avoid difficult conversations to preserve relationships. Yep. I often prioritize acceptance over honesty. Rate it 1 through 10. Statement 4. I feel lonely despite being surrounded by people. Statement 5. Few people truly know who I am at my core. Make sure you write that score down. You're rating each of the 5 statements 1 through 10. Tax number 3, the physical tax. The physical tax is what the mask takes out of your body to keep itself running. The body has been keeping the receipts the whole time. Because holding a face is physical labor, and your body has been keeping the score the entire time. It's been holding what you refuse to surface. So I need you to ask yourself, where does your body carry it? In your back? In your neck? Your jaw? Your sleep? That's not random. Sustained vigilance and performance runs on cortisol and a mental mode that was never built to run nonstop. The body keeps the ledger and it writes symptoms. Where is the performance stored in your body? Here's the statement. Statement 1. I experience chronic stress or tension. Statement 2. My sleep is negatively affected by pressure or performance demands. Statement 3. I find it difficult to relax when responsibilities are present. Statement 4. My body feels exhausted even when I appear functional. Statement 5. I notice physical symptoms when I suppress who I am. Statement 5. I notice physical symptoms when I suppress my true thoughts or feelings. All right, add up the physical tax score. We're on to tax number 4, the cognitive tax. This is the one I left out last week. This is what the math takes from your bandwidth, your focus, your memory, your decision making, and the sharpness of your own mind. If you are not counting this cost, because people will tell us it's age, it's tired, it's not eating healthy, and those things could be true. But you have to ask yourself, when does your thinking quit on you? When does your brain fog kick in the worst? Or even, is it consistent? The mind just starts running out. The decision making ability is not present. It results to default. You feel like you need to go back and read the SOP even though you've been working at the same company for 10 years. And this is the one that causes the burnout. This is the one that causes people to quit. This is the one where they can't take it anymore because the brain is not at its full capacity. The fog isn't age. It isn't the phone screens. It isn't TikTok. It's overhead. You're running a background program all day, every day, monitoring the room, calibrating the mask, functioning at a high capacity, but it's not the right version of you because you keep having to adjust on the fly. Your brain needs a break because you need that brain to do work and it's not showing up for you. It's not putting it together. It's not working like it used to. It is this cognitive tax is the most expensive thing that you as a leader can keep running the bill up on. You can't fully relax in the morning, in the night, in the afternoon. The brain is just like, are we still going or do I actually get to chill this time? You hate to see Sunday coming because your brain still, it just turned off and it's time to be turned on again. And when you finally interrupt the pattern, the most common thing they say is, I forgot what it felt like to think clearly. What is your mind paying to keep the performance running? Statement one, my focus fades as the day goes on and my decisions slide to autopilot. Statement two, part of my attention is always monitoring how I'm coming across. Statement three, I find it hard to switch my mind off, even when nothing demands my attention. Statement four, I feel mentally drained even after tasks that should have been easy. Statement five, my memory and mental sharpness aren't what they used to be. It takes me hours to wind down before I can think clearly for myself. Add up your cognitive tax score. Tax number five. The creative tax is the gift you buried because the math said it wouldn't be received. And I don't just mean art, I mean your capacity to make a thing exist. Put your name on it and let people encounter it, experience it, know that it was you. Ask yourself, what have you not made, not said, not built because you decided in advance that nobody would get it, nobody would buy it, nobody was going to receive it? So go deeper. Here's the statements. The mask bearer pays this through suppression, the writing that got started and deleted, the painting that never got hung, the song that never got released, that business idea that never got pitched. Not because it was bad, but because it would have cost you to be yourself. It would have revealed the very self the mask was built to hide. So you buried the idea and you pay that tax in silence. Suppression. So, what gifts have been hidden? Here are the statements. Statement one, I have ideas I rarely act on. I suppress. Statement two, I suppress parts of myself because they may not be accepted. Statement three, I have abandoned goals that felt meaningful to me. Statement four, I often choose safety over creative expression. Statement five, I feel disconnected from passion that once energized me. That's your creative tax score. Add it up, write it down. Tax number 6, the leadership tax. The leadership tax is the one that stops being personal and becomes organizational. However, it even affects the family dynamics because you're a leader of your family, of yourself, right? It's what your pattern takes from the team, from the culture, and the people you lead, whether you mean for it to or not. You have to understand that as a leader, you have to lead the room from your true version of yourself. Because in that room are other adaptive patterns that can pick up on the unauthentic version of you. So ask yourself, where have you led for the room instead of for the truth? Where did you say what kept the room comfortable instead of what needed to be said to change the environment? Go deeper. The mask bearer builds inauthentic cultures and not on purpose. The team learns to present instead of just be. The real issue never makes it into the meetings. The conflicts get managed under the surface, while the reviews say one thing and the actual relationship says another. And here's the hardest diagnostic. Have you ever said different things to different groups of people about the same decision that you made and why you made it? When that's driven by a mask, it's not political. It's not keeping the culture. It's not keeping the peace. It's self-betrayal. And it's costing you the one thing leadership is actually built on, and it's trust. What is the cost of leading from the mask adaptation in leadership? Statement 1, I communicate differently depending on who's listening. Statement 2, I sometimes say what others want to hear instead of what I believe. Statement 3, I avoid conflict longer than I should. Statement 4, I struggle to maintain the same position across stakeholder groups. Statement 5, I feel pressure to perform even when I'm the one who needs support. Add up your leadership tax score. We go into tax number 7, the spiritual tax. The spiritual tax. This is what the mask takes from your access to meaning. The sense that what you're doing is connected to something that lasts. Ask yourself, what have you walked away from and what have you walked into because somebody else told you to? Time to go deeper. Spiritual tax is expensive because it's the one that costs you your purpose, your sense of being, your sense of becoming. When this pattern makes you treat your own life as an object or tool, using every day as a means to manage the room versus using it to grow yourself and others, it slowly severs you from the ground underneath the achievement. And you can climb the whole ladder, right, at the top and realize it was leaning on somebody else's vision, somebody else's wall. So ask it plainly. If every bit of the validation disappeared tomorrow, if no one was clapping, would you be on this path you are on right now? What has the pursuit of approval cost your deeper self? Because we all are looking for someone to validate us, but nobody's going to clap for you when the vision wasn't given to them. You have to be able to step up, say it, mean it, and execute it. So here is the deeper. What has the pursuit of approval cost your deeper self? Statement 1. I feel disconnected from my purpose. Statement 2. I make decisions based on validation rather than conviction. Statement 3. I struggle to hear my own inner voice clearly. Statement 4. I have ignored important personal values to fit in. Statement 5. I feel out of alignment with who I believe I am supposed to be. That's your spiritual tax. Add it up. What's the cost? What is the cost? And after you add up your spiritual tax score, you look back at the other scores. Here are the results interpretation. I have tiers. What does it mean? 0 to 17, you are aligned. Your adaptation is conscious and strategic. The mask is a tool, not a default. You are in complete control of what you're doing each and every day. You know how to take the mask off. You know how to set it to the side. You know how to be true to you. 18 to 35, activate it. The pattern is running more than you're directing it. You're editing yourself in room where it is no longer necessary. You have to learn to take it off. You have to learn to be yourself. You have to learn to be the leader that you know that you can be without over editing who you are. If you scored 36 to 53, the mask is compounding. It's overtaking every area where the tax is collected. The taxes are feeding each other. Your leadership range and decision quality and relational trust are all taking hits. This is the tier where high performers plateau and can't figure out why. If you score between 54 and 70, you're at critical overhead. The cost of maintaining this pattern now exceeds what it's producing. It's taking over. Performance may still look intact from the outside, but internally, the system is near the threshold. The next demand may be the one it doesn't bounce back from. Your return on life investment is your responsibility. How this tax collects in your life, it is up to you. As a leader, as a parent, whether you're leading cultures, organizations, families, it is up to you to be able to know where you're losing ground if you don't take the mask off. You have to know how to step up, speak up without losing emotional intelligence. You have to learn how to be you. These taxes don't sit in separate buckets. They compound. The cognitive overhead spills into your body. The unfelt emotions flood you later. The tax leader makes worse calls and the team pays for it. One mask, 7 invoices, all feeding each other. So after this scoring, what tax category scored the highest? That's what you need to assess because that's where you start. What is that category costing you right now? And what would improve if that score decreased by 50%? What mask is generating the most of that tax? What is one truth you need to say this week? What mask is generating most of the tax? Who's carrying you? What version? What is one truth you need to say this week that you have been avoiding? What would the unperformed version of you choose next? Those are the questions I want you to ask. The identity formula that I just gave you is the gap between who you are and who you want to be, where you want to go. The larger the gap, the greater the tax. When you can answer these reflection questions and you can run the return on life investment tax audit, then you can fill the gap from where you are to where you want to go. Thank you for tuning in to the Strategy Table today. Head over to avsstrategytable.com. I also have this as a workup. Take the discovery assessment, figure out what's your top 3 patterns, see where the mass barrier falls into place, and tune in next time. Until then, real life, real stories, real strategy. I'm your host, Artrice, and I'm out.